Welcome back to episode 2 of my catch can install video. Today I'll be mounting the catch can, which I have right here. This is an X-Max catch can. You can find these on eBay for about $100. Some of them come with a green filter. I opted for the red. Well, I didn't opt for it. I bought it separately, but as a K&N filter. I like the red coloring better than the green one. I didn't really want a green filter in the engine bay that has already a bright blue valve cover. So I'll be mounting this today. As you can see, I've already cleared out some space here. Normally this battery box comes all the way over into this area, and I've trimmed all that away. Clearance for the downpipe, clearance for this, as well as any other sensors and stuff like that. I've got 202 sensors that go there. But I'll be mounting this right about here. Should clear this hood strut and the hood itself once closed. So really good area. I can run my 2 fittings out here and over and up here to the new valve cover fittings. So I will take this apart, get this bracket. I've already marked one spot. I just got to get the other hole over here, and I will be using Riv nuts to secure this bracket here. So I will need to drill the holes for the Riv nuts and everything like that, but I will see you in just a second after I get this bracket off, since I've already test fitted this. So give me just a second, I'll be right back. All right, so I've got this bracket off of here. All you do is unscrew the lid and this comes off. It sandwiches it between the actual can and the lid. But what I've got here is a center punch. And like I said, I've already punched one hole. You probably can't see it on camera there, unless you really zoom in, but I've already got one, so I know exactly where to put it. And then I can pretty much eyeball how level it is based off of this slot here, because that'll actually be the angle that I actually want it at. So I can hold it right there. You just take your center punch, try and put it in the middle of this hole as best as you can. And once you push in, it'll put a nice hole right where you want your hole for your drill bit. So whatever size Riv nut you go with, you pick this appropriate size drill bit and then you drill your hole. So now that I've got that done, let me grab the drill bit and then I will start drilling these holes and get the Riv-Nut Gun all set up to put in. So I will see you in just a second. All right, so I've got my drill bit. These are the same stepper bits I used in the video for drilling the holes in the valve cover. As you can see, I've got the 3/8. Well, I found the proper size. The closest one is a 3/8. So I've got it taped off so that I know when to stop. So when it hits the tape, I'll stop drilling. Since it's a stepper bit, it'll just keep plowing through. So got that taped off. Like I said, I've got my dimples here from the center punch, or the automatic center punch. So just need to drill these holes right here, which I'll do real quick. You can see I've got my 2 holes drilled. Excuse me. So you want to make sure before you go putting the Riv nuts in that your spacing's correct. So I've got the bracket off here, and I just use the 2 stainless screws that I've got, and then 2 Riv nuts just to check. So I just screwed them in, and then I just check to make sure that the spacing's correct on them. So I know it's going to go exactly where I want it to go once it's actually bolted in there. So now that I know that, I can grab my Riv-Nut Gun. And then go ahead and put these in. So I will grab that. I'll be right back. All right, for those of you that are unfamiliar with a Riv-Nut Gun, this is what a Riv-Nut Gun is. It's basically an oversized, well, not really oversized, but a little bit different style of regular rivet gun. So this one, you have instead of having the stud coming through the actual rivet itself, so it's threaded, you thread this onto here. So that's basically your stud that will break off. It doesn't actually break off, but if you guys can hear that, my dogs are playing back there and they're apparently up against the back of the garage. Anyways, so this is a Riv-Nut Gun. you thread this on here, you put it in the hole, you pull these handles together, and it pulls the bottom portion of this up towards it, and it pinches the metal that you're trying to put it into. So what that does is basically you don't have to thread any holes, anything like that. You can always drill these out and replace them just like regular rivets if they get stripped or get loose. For what I'm using them for, they shouldn't be a problem. Once I screw it in there, it might be off the card maybe a couple times, but that's it. So the brand of this one is actually a Tack Life. Excuse me again, holy crap. I got this off of Amazon. I will link this in the description like I have with other tools and stuff that I've showed you guys. But this one I think was $65, but again, I'll link it in the description just so you know. But it comes with a whole bunch of different size. Riv-Nuts itself, it comes with all the pieces you need to change out internally to be able to fit all those different Riv-Nuts. So I'll go ahead and put this in, and then we will install that catch can, and then I will start making the AN lines. So give me just a second and I'll start putting these in. So you can see the bracket is partially in there. Just wanted to explain real quick. I did get some stainless fasteners for it because like I said before, I wanted it to look pretty nice. I also did get a flat washer and a lock washer just to make sure that's not gonna come loose. It may still come loose, but that's just a little prevention just to make sure it doesn't. You really don't want the catch can, especially if it's got oil in it, to come loose, fall over, especially right next to the exhaust like this is. But like I was saying, I got stainless fasteners put in there. So these ones are a little bit longer. I got two different sizes, so I knew I would have the right ones. The longer ones end up being the ones that fit the best. So those are the ones I went with. So I'm gonna put this bracket in the rest of the way, which is just as simple as tightening it down just like so. Alright, so something happened with my phone. Apparently I ran out of storage, so the last clip cut off. But the catch can is in, and I was just explaining that the top of this filter sits below where the trim sits right here, which meets up to this part of the hood up here. So the space above it will be plenty to go above this, so it won't hit anything. So now I can start running my lines. So I've got 90-degree fittings to come out of here. They'll kind of be stacked and then run over this way to the valve cover that I did in a previous video, or the last catch can video. So I will get the fittings around that I'm going to be using, get all my braided hoses and stuff like that. I'm going to put the battery jump location back where it goes and bolt it back down now that I don't need it out of the way anymore. But it is in. Let me grab those hoses and I will be right back. All right, so I've got these 90s on here just because where the diagnostic port was, it would hit the downpipe if I tried to put it in. So I've still got the bracket here. I didn't realize it'd be that close, so it's still in there. I may end up just leaving it for the time being, but the diagnostic port will be moved back to the back of the strut tower here. So that's the reason for these 90s. It's the easiest way to clear that, along with everything else that's going to be here. On about shortening these battery cables, and then once those are shortened, then it'll look a lot better here. But these hoses, the 90s, will stay exactly where they are. But I've got this 10-foot section of nylon braided, stainless reinforced hose from Amazon that I'm going to be using for this catch can setup. I've already got one of the parts of the fittings on here. So these are normally, let me grab one real quick that's not on there already. So these straight fittings, they just come like this. What you do is you just unscrew the end of it here, And this will have 2 sets of threads in it. The first set of threads is actually so you thread it onto the hose itself. So it's got a pretty coarse thread in there, you can see. So that will thread onto here like I've done with this one until it hits the bottom of the threads that are inside here. So you can see the finer threads in there, kind of, but there's a lip right under that, and that's how far you want to shove the piece onto here, so that you can then take this piece and you're going to push that in there until the threads start to engage. And then what you're going to do from there, if I can get this to thread on properly, once you start threading that in there, it'll get a little tight in just a moment. So once that is good on there, you can grab you can either use one of these AN wrenches, which in this case, I don't have the right size. This is just for a 10, so it's for this end, not this end. I would probably need a 12 for the other side. But instead, I'm gonna use just a pair of adjustable wrench that has some tape on it so that I don't scratch the anodizing off. So you can literally just hold this in your hand. So you're just gonna size it on there, and then you can literally just work this around with your hand like this, making sure that when you're doing that, it's not pulling this lower fitting off of here. So kind of leave your hand on there. You can kind of feel if it does start to pull, and it will get pretty tight at some point. So I think it's because it's pinching between the two, but you'll just continue doing that, get it around the other fitting, so you can kind of move those out of the way. Oop. Let me grab, I scratched that one. Oh. So let me grab another pair so I can get the other fitting as well. So I'll be back in just a second. All right, so now you can see that hose end is made. I did scratch it up a little bit, so next time I will definitely know to get the appropriate tools. But it is tight, so when you're tightening these down, like I said before, make sure it's not slipping out of this bottom piece right here, because when it goes in there, it is going to start to push the inner lining of this hose outward, and that's how it gets pinched into here and makes a seal. So once that's done though, this should still spin freely, so then you can lay your hose wherever you want it to go. In this case, I'm going to do the bottom line first, as long as it will thread onto here. All right, so that bottom line is in place where I want it to go. So I might actually have to, yeah, so these will bend enough, so it won't be a huge deal later. But make sure you're not cutting this hose until you have the correct length. So put your end on first, route it where you want to go, and then cut it, just so you know it's going to be the right length, because you are going to have stack up for these fittings that if you're not accounting for, you could end up making it a little short. Luckily here, since the hose is curved, you can make it a little bit longer, and then the slack will just get taken up in the curve if you do mess up a little bit. So if anything, make it a little longer, because then it can just push to the back rather than trying to stretch it across. You definitely don't want to have these fittings stretched at all. And in this case, you don't want it to rub on the exhaust. So what you'll want to cut this is you'll want some painter's tape, wrap around, or figure out where you want to cut, wrap beyond that by about 1 inch or so, so that when you cut through it, the nylon braiding doesn't start fraying out, because then you're gonna have a heck of a time trying to get that fitting on. So once you're ready to cut it, like I said, do that. And I like to use a mini handheld hacksaw. It's actually right here with a fine blade on it. So this will cut through anything. This is it's a 10-inch blade in here. This is just a regular hacksaw blade, but then it's got the short area where you're actually gonna cut with. But this is I can't even see it, I've used it so much. But anyways, it's a very fine tooth. You can see real fine on there. So I don't have the other cover on here. I still need to paint that cover and then put it on here, but today I will be making the lines because I know about where they're gonna go. So let me grab some painter's tape, and then I will be back in just a second. All right, so now I've got that cut. I know that's gonna be going to the front hose, which is about right there, which gives it a nice curve right here. So as you can see, I cut it with the hacksaw. It did still get a little frayed. Then you wanna make sure also that you're making the cut as perpendicular to the hose as possible, so that when you do put this fitting on, it has the maximum amount of engagement. This one I got pretty straight on here. I am gonna go ahead and put this straight hose end on here, because I'm gonna use the same exact 90-degree fittings up there as I used back here. So it'll have a female end on it that you thread these straight fittings onto. So once I can find the end of the tape here, you can take the tape back off. Some people leave it on. I'm not a huge fan of that, because then you gotta dig it out of there. But again, when you're putting these on, just kind of make sure you get all of it in there, and then you're just gonna push and twist at the same time, and that'll start your hose end on there. It might take a minute, especially with this stuff, but you can see, just a second, I'm almost there. All right, so you can see possibly that the hose is right underneath that lip there, and it's right where it needs to be. So then, like I did on the last one, just push it in, start threading it. Again, make sure it's not gonna push the hose off. So you can kind of start threading it and look. Use one of these weaves as a reference point. And then just keep going just like you were before. And then that's one hose that's made. So you're just gonna do the same thing for this one. And then once you have all your fittings tight, everything like that, you got your new valve cover in with the bulkhead fittings that I showed in the previous video, you can hook those up, and then your catch can system is 100% done. So that is all I have for today. I'll be painting the valve cover in the meantime. The same blue that I've already got on this valve cover, just because I like the color scheme and everything, along with all the silver and black parts that I've used for other stuff. So just kind of looking for like a good, almost high performance type looking build. Like I said, I'm anal about aesthetics, but like I said, that's all I have for you today. But keep a lookout for my next video. It will be the fuel system. I've got an adjustable fuel pressure regulator from Aeromotive that I'm going to be mounting over on the other side of the engine bay, running all the lines to and everything, just to get the fuel system squared away. Once the fuel system's squared away, I will have some wiring for the coil packs to do and stuff to get them away from the exhaust, because as you can see right now, they're shoved underneath the downpipe, which is not good. But other than that, that's all I got for you today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook. Other than that, give yourself a nice Halloween.